Ladies, what's the weirdest fetish a guy has dropped on you all of a sudden with little to no warning? Were you with it or against it? Several years ago I was just talking to this guy on OkCupid, we hadn't even met yet, and he asked me if I'd be okay with erotic hypnosis. I was like what, and he sends me a book. However, then he tells me that his last girlfriend and he had gotten into this elaborate fantasy roleplay and somehow decided that they were actually hypnotizing each other, and one night she convinced him she was not real and left him sobbing in a corner. And he wanted to keep doing that. Nope. Nope nope nope. Not me, but friend told me a story about one of her Tinder dates. Fairly boring, non-sexual first date convo. She gets up to go to the bathroom, and as soon as she sits back down, dude is like, "So how do you feel about pee play? Like, would you pee on me?" I guess her going to the bathroom was enough of a segue for this guy. Guy told me he likes tall women. Really tall women. Wanted me to dress up and play at being a giantess. We were halfway through our first cup of coffee. One guy wanted me to berate his small penis and tell him how worthless it was. I didn't want to do it, because I have mad penis respect, but I did because I also believe in embracing your kinks. Guy here, but this one confused the crap out of me. I started dating this girl and at first things were normal, but she started picking fights with me and then having angry sex. It got to the point that she literally refused to have sex without a loud shouting match first. It was really hard to break up with her because when I told we were through she thought it was foreplay. Eventually I had to just ghost her. I was dating a guy who confided in me, after I confided in him some of my more ethically ambiguous fetishes, that he wanted us to have daughters and raise them to be our sex toys. No thank you, Adam. Not me, but a friend of mine was talking to this guy who said, "Before we go any further, I need to come clean about something. Please don't think I'm strange. I've got a really weird fetish." Instantly we think it's gonna be something extreme, maybe involving bodily fluids. I don't want to kink shame, but just something downright gross. He says, "I need to be wearing a fleece?" Patagonia was his preference. It's like, innocent compared to the ones in this thread, but just bizarre. My best friend told me about how she had been dating this guy for a few months and they took a camping trip together. They were having sex in the tent and he puts his forearm down on her neck and starts cutting off her air supply. She freaked and thought he was going to kill her, to later find out he had a choking fetish he never told her about. Edit. Since more than one person has asked, no, the relationship did not last. I had a friend who told me some Tinder dude brought a backpack of fetish gear to their first date, and was surprised that she found it weird. He was into blood play and wanted to make little cuts all over my body with a really pretty knife. Yeah, no thanks. My boyfriend likes people to watch him pee. Not peeing on people or things, just peeing in the toilet normally. It's weird, but honestly I'm into weirder. My first partner was very experienced and knew what he wanted. Early into our physical relationship, he told me that he wanted me to slap him and tell him how he was a bad person. It was difficult for me to get on board with that. I'm a very nice person. What could I even say? I bet you don't recycle. I once met a guy on Tinder who, out of nowhere, asked me if I could fuck his dog while he watched. I was very against it. Was seeing a lawyer while I was in college and he was into dick shaming and a chastity cage. I really liked him, so I indulged him some. Kept his little dick cage keys on my key ring. The whole shebang. But he could not separate fetish and life. So our whole relationship turned into fetish instead of an actual relationship. He wanted to paint my toenails, then ejaculate on them. I was down as long as I approved the color. He did a great job. Even put little hearts on the big toes and gave me a foot rub. It didn't do much for me sexually, but I got a pedicure and we had fun. Edit. He did wait for the polish to dry first. There was some dirty talk, though mostly I just wiggled my toes at him. It made him laugh and turned him on. It was fun. Not me, but I heard a story from a friend one time who got with this guy one night and he said, "I like being a little rough. Are you okay with that?" She, without thinking much of it, decides to play along and the dude slaps the shit out of her and says, "You like that, bitch?" She noped out real quick. I was walking to my college and on the way I saw a couple walking in front of me. I was late for my class and when I rushed past them I heard the girl say, "I knew you were into weird fetishes, but the most I'll do is piss on somebody." Don't even want to know what the boy said. Was talking to a guy online on a dating site, one of those guys that seemed kind of too good to be true. Out of my league, good looking, great job, owned his own home, traveled nationally and internationally once a year on vacation. I figured there had to be a catch. He had a cuckold fetish. I'll give him this, at least he was honest about it early on rather than waiting until I was invested in a relationship. He was also very polite about it when I declined. I went over to his house for the first time and he wanted to go from the first kiss to fisting. He was just awkward and had never had sex before, so he didn't know how to broach the subject. I politely said no and we laughed it off and continued with our date. He turned out to be an overall sweet dude and we're still together. Still haven't let him fist me though. Edit, wow, gold, silver, and 11k upvotes for not getting fisted, thanks guys. My ex was into poop. I was not. Right after I found his stash of dildos under his bed, he asked if he could pee inside me. Edit, didn't answer the last part of the question, but I was against it. For health reasons and because I wasn't ready for that level of intimacy. At a party, I had a girl straight up ask me if she could hold my dick while I took a leak. I said why not? Then I got bladder shy and disappointed her. Feels bad, man. A dude offered me a few hundred to fart in my mouth on our first date. I did not accept. I dated a guy that was into virgin roleplay. He also believed he had a huge enough dick to make anyone bleed, virgin or not. When I didn't bleed after we had some rough sex, I'm totally cool with rough sex, he got pissy. He said I should have bleed because I was tight enough, but I guess he didn't realize that vaginas are super elastic. He was convinced I had cheated on him before we had sex that day. It was really weird. I'm all for pretending to be a curious virgin, but I can't make my imaginary hymen pop and bleed dude. I still laugh about it to this day. Guy I was dating wanted me to vomit on his dick, or so I assume. He never actually asked for this, he just kept getting more and more aggressive with face fucking. The last time I slept with him he was really being aggressive with the throat dicking, so I said I am going to throw up, chill out, but this just prompted him to excitedly suggest we go and continue the BJ in the shower. Not about that, had to piss out. He asked if he could watch a dog fuck me. I declined. There's an OkCupid question about how wild you'll get, and I'm convinced that 99.9% of the people that say they'll try anything once, have no idea what kind of shit some people do. They should probably read these answers. I had a guy ask me to bite his dick as hard as I could. All I could imagine were the headlines of me biting it off. One time a girl wanted me to roleplay a Mexican apple thief, getting caught in her cider house, chasing her to the tasting room, where we made love so loudly that it could be heard all the way in the distillery. I dated a guy very briefly. He was a pro football player. Absolutely gorgeous. The first night we slept together he wanted to pretend that we were on a plantation. He was a field hand and I was the daughter of the house. It was just way too uncomfortable and I half-heartedly role-played this, but it was not my thing at all. Dude I was talking to a few years ago wanted me to call him daddy. That isn't the weird part, though I'm vehemently against calling my sexual partner daddy since I call my own father daddy. He also wanted me to act like a little kid. Also not the weird part. Daddy/little girl play is a thing, not my thing, but I try not to judge. The weird part that made me nope was how he continued a stream of comments about how amazing it would be if I was small like a little girl. That it would be so much better if I was completely hairless and a baby fat. It became increasingly apparent he didn't want to just fantasize about age play. He actually wanted a little girl. I ghosted him after that. Creeped me the fuck out. I'm a dom, so I've seen a ton of weird shit. One guy wanted me to brand him, like with a hot iron. A couple of guys were interested in serious damage to their genitalia. One wanted to be held underwater. Needless to say, I don't do things that can cause permanent damage or death. ITT. Way too many people being asked to fuck dogs. One night stand, call me captain. I laughed, he left. Not immensely weird but funny. Hope I didn't give him a complex or something about it, poor dude. I had a BF who I had dated for nearly 2 years and then one day he told me that he wanted me to have sex with his best guy while he watched. I said no, but he kept bringing it up. I'm open to most things sexually, but I just couldn't understand why he'd want this. My guy was a tall, skinny, dorky but very cute and nice math professor with glasses, thin lips and disheveled hair. He looked like the stereotypical math nerd. We get to his place and he asks me to put my head under the couch while he fucks me doggy. Other requests, asking me to lick the bottom of his balls as he gently slaps my face around, and putting me into weird poses on his couch. Likes having a girl sit on his face, bare-assed and fart. The smellier the better. Another guy said in order to date him, I'd have to be okay with him pissing on my face. Would find it especially hot if I drank some of it in the process. I just want to throw this out there, but after being with my wife of like 10 years she just finally let me lick her butthole last month. Making progress guys. Edit, after she took a shower, otherwise you. In my earlier years before learning of my own depraved kinks, a co-worker from the movie theater I worked at and I were making spanky when he suddenly whipped out a belt. I looked at him and said, hey, what are you going to do with a belt? He just smiled and said it's okay, it's my work belt. For some reason, the fact that it was the belt he wore to go serve people popcorn and made my brain suddenly accept its lewd use. That was the first time I got into bondage, and it's been a fun ride since. What's better is the guy's name was Kyle, and he not only longboarded, but drank 3 monsters a day. Keep being rad as fuck, Kyle.